Our first speaker is Chandan Maiti, and he will be talking about the topology of nilpotent orbits. So let me invite Chandan Maiti.
Okay, thank you the opportunity to talk about my work on this conference. So the topic is on the topology of nilpotent orbits in simple Lie algebras. So let me begin by some definition, basic definition. So throughout this talk, the capital, in the capital letter, it denotes the Lie group, and the corresponding script German letter denotes the corresponding Lie algebra. An element in the Lie algebra is called nilpotent if the ADX map from in the Lie algebra is a nilpotent endomorphism. And so given a Lie group, there is a natural adjoint representation of the Lie group on its Lie algebra, capital Ad representation. Now, given an element, we can consider the corresponding orbit under this map, capital A. So the element, the orbit is called nilpotent if the element is nilpotent. So if the group is a linear Lie group, like a matrix group, then this add map is nothing but the conjugacy action. So now you can understand, if I consider any element, this is the conjugacy, the orbit under this conjugacy action is diffeomorphic to G mod the centralizer of this of the element. So that means which is precisely the stabilizer under this action. Okay, so this nilpotent orbit is a important homogeneous manifold. Homogeneous manifold means a manifold of the form G mod H, where G is a Lie group and H is a closed subgroup. So, and it's studied in many disciplines of mathematics, for example, Lie theory, symplectic geometry. But surprisingly, for a very long period, it hardly any literature about the topological invariance of these such orbits. Therefore, recently there are some attention drawn to compute the topological invariance, namely the cohomology. In this talk, we will focus on the computation of de Rham cohomology of nilpotent orbits. So therefore, the question is, what is this? So this is a de Rham cohomology of such an orbit. Okay, so if you don't know the definition of de Rham cohomology, you can think this de Rham cohomology as a topological invariant associated to a smooth manifold, like a fundamental group. So there is a way to define explicit definition of de Rham cohomology, but one can think like that. Okay, so let me say a few words about this adjoint orbit. So if the Lie algebra is a semi-simple Lie algebra, then this adjoint orbit admits a non-degenerate closed-2 form, which is called Post-and-Kirchhoff form. As a consequence, such orbits has a symplectic structure, and as a corollary, one can say as a manifold, this is always the dimension of such manifold is always even. Indranil Biswas and Pralay Chatterjee gave an exactness criteria of such a form. Towards this, they computed the second de Rham cohomology of such orbit in the complex simple Lie algebra. This naturally motivates us to continue the program for the remaining much more intricate cases of the non-compact real simple Lie group. Can I, yeah, now. In the simple Lie algebras. Okay, let me begin one basic example. Let me take X to be this 0, 1, 0, 0. This is a nilpotent matrix in SL2R. Now, what the nilpotent orbit looks like. So for this, I need to know the centralizer, because the nilpotent orbit is of the form G mod H, where H is the centralizer of this element. So the centralizer is of this form, where the diagonal can be +1 or -1, and B is any real number. Now the orbit is, therefore the orbit is of the form SL2R modulo this centralizer. So every semi-simple Lie group has a Iyasawa decomposition, KAM, where in particular here K is SO2, A is of this form, and N is the unipotent matrix. So the centralized, now we can see, so this is up to homotopy. this equivalence relation. It's not any isomorphism. So up to homotopy, OX is this, and so now I can deduce this. As we see, it is of the form K here, the circle SO2 modulo Z mod 2, which is again homotopic to the circle. So therefore, for in particular this case, the nilpotent orbit is homotopic to the circle. Actually, it is like a cylinder type of thing, but up to homotopy, it is a circle. But if I consider any arbitrary general nilpotent element, then the structure of the centralizer is much more complicated, not this much simple. So for this, we need some strong machinery to deal with, to compute the cohomology. So basically the first thing here, observe that we have derived this as a compact manifold, you understand? So this is a non-compact, but it is same as a compact manifold up to homotopy. So to compute the general things, we need the stronger result. Yeah, so here the first we have a general result for how to compute the second cohomology of a, so here I will consider the de Rham cohomology. The second de Rham cohomology of a general homogeneous space G mod H. So here G is any connected Lie group and H is a subgroup which has only finitely many connected components. Then the second de Rham cohomology of G mod H is isomorphic to this expression. So here this is OH star, omega 2 means OH star of this vector space, and M and K denotes the respectively their Lie algebra. And so this notation is the K by K naught is a finite group which act on this vector space, and this is the fixed point under this action. Similarly, we have a result for the H1 of G mod H. Here H and K, M and K are respectively maximal compact subgroup in the connected group G and H. So we will, so this will give me a, the right hand side is a expression with respect to the Lie algebra of the corresponding maximal compact subgroups, and that will give us to compute the dimension of this second cohomology. Okay, the main one reduction is this, so we can reduce this G mod H as a compact homogeneous manifold M mod K, and then we will, yeah, and after that this equality holds. It is isomorphism, not equality. Okay, in a special case, when G is a simple real Lie group, we have the following stronger version. So here one term is going to 0. So actually we need this for our computational purpose. Here G is a connected simple real Lie group and H is a closed subgroup with finitely many connected components. So then the description of second and first cohomology is like this. So in this situation, observe that the H1 is dimension of first cohomology is bounded by 1. This is a strong bound. Also here I would like to say a few things. So if this M is semi-simple, in that situation M equal to the commutator MM, so then the right hand side is isomorphic to ZK star, the fixed point of K by K naught on the vector space ZK star. But the problem arises if M is not semi-simple. For example, SUPQ. We will discuss this later. Okay. For the computational purpose, we need the description of the centralizer ZGX for the nilpotent element X. And the main strategies in the computation is, so you from a nilpotent element, there exists a triple XHY, which is SL2 triple. This is due to the famous Jacobson-Morozov theorem. And so the centralizer of this triple is going to be a Levy part of the group ZGX. And so as I mentioned, if M is semi-simple, then the computation is slightly simpler. It's enough to know the isomorphism class of M. But if M is not semi-simple, to find the intersection of two vector space, we have to embed this in a suitable bigger vector space as a subspace, and there we can take the intersection. So therefore, in this situation, we need to know how this group K embeds physically sits embed in M. And next part is the computer have to find this action of this component group on this vector space. Okay, let me state few results on this. So first, the result of this cohomology of nilpotent orbits, they are parameterized. So to describe the results, we need to know the parameterization of the nilpotent orbits. For example, for example, if I take any nilpotent element in SLNR, so via Jordan, so there is a unique Jordan matrix which conjugate to this, and every Jordan matrix corresponds to a unique partition like this. So here the notation is summation Ti di T di times di, the sum over I is n. So that means the multiplicity of di is Tdi. So we are thinking Tdi as a function of di. And if X is a nilpotent element, then suppose the orbit corresponds to this the partition AD, then the following holds: if n greater or equal to 3 and exactly 1 odd di and corresponding Tdi is 2, then the dimension of cohomology is 1, and any other case it is 0. So here also the second cohomology is bounded by 2. Similarly, in SLNH also this is quite simpler. All second and first cohomology vanishes. But the problem we have to face, problem is much more difficult if this M, what I mentioned in the previous theorem, is if M is not semi-simple. For example, in this Lie algebra, SUPQ, this M is not semi-simple. So, okay, so before describing the result, let me describe a little bit about the parameterization of the nilpotent element, nilpotent orbit. So in this situation, the nilpotent orbits are parameterized by Sine-de-Jong diagram. So from the partition, every partition of n corresponds to a unique Jong diagram. Now this Jong diagram is not enough to classify these nilpotent orbits, to classify the conjugacy class of element in SUPQ. So we have to put some extra gadget. We put some +1 and -1 inside the diagram. So there is a rule. So basically, in the first column, you can put any +1 and -1 and then alternate. But except in one situation, the first one, it is the last two are same sign. Basically, if the length of the row is 4n plus 3, then we will alternate the sign till last but 1 and then repeat. So that is the convention, and the theorem is that is also a well-known theorem, that the nilpotent orbits of SUPQ are parameterized by Sine-de-Jong diagram of signature P, Q. So signature, by signature I mean the number of plus sign, number of minus sign. Yeah, so and from this information we can compute from a nilpotent orbit we have such information, and from such information we can compute the cohomology, at least first and second cohomology of such orbits. So here is the result. So here the L and D. So this L, okay. So instead of explaining the notation in details, I can tell you. So this PD denotes number of plus sign and QD denotes the number of minus sign in the first. So I can consider this as a rectangle of size. So this TD times TD, the multiplicity of DI is TI. So from there I can, the PI and QI denotes the number of plus sign and minus sign in the first row, first column. And L, so from there we have this L, and our theorem depends on this L. Yeah, here are some references. So, and this talk is based on this paper, the second cohomology of nilpotent orbits in classical Lie algebra in Kyoto Journal of Maths. So here are some more references. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the talk. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, can I ask one? I actually have 2-3 questions.
Yeah.
Please.
So first question is why nilpotent? Can you, I mean, you could consider any element, right?
Yes, yes. So the point is that if I consider only semi-simple element,
then
yeah, so then the structure is quite simpler. The centralizer is connected. This is a theorem due to Borel.
Okay.
But and in that situation also, using this, you can see prove that orbits are simply connected if my underlying group is simply connected, like G.
Okay.
Because of the connectedness, we can take the homotopy long exact sequence. So in that situation, but the structure of nilpotent, the centralizer of the nilpotent element is quite is slightly difficult than the structure of the centralizer of a semi-simple element. In fact, the structure of the centralizer of the semi-simple element, you can, if my underlying Lie algebra is a complex Lie algebra, then you can think the centralizer as a the roots. The centralizer is consisting of the Cartan subalgebra plus the roots which vanish on that edge.
Okay.
So in that sense, and the group is connected. So the Lie algebra of that centralizer determines the centralizer of the element in the group level. So in that sense, semi-simple orbits are like, I don't like comparatively, it's slightly simpler. The structure is much more complicated in the unipotent, like nilpotent situation. And the next question is like, for the what we can say about the any arbitrary element.
Yeah, you can combine the two. Can you combine these two? And
yeah, like, yeah, we are planning like this. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
So
do you also use stuff like you take exponential and go to the group and use centralizer there and then come back and all?
No, I can compute the centralizer in the group.
But
yeah, so because of the point is that in the nilpotent situation, the centralizer is not in general connected. So the Lie algebra will not help much.
So, and why not general Lie groups, connected Lie groups?
Okay, if I consider the solvable one, the other extreme situation of the semi-simple thing. So in that situation, the maximal compact, so this G mod H is deformation retract to a toral thing, like
okay, maximal compact connected.
Yeah, the maximal compact modulo the maximal compact of the centralizer.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you. Nice talk.
Any other questions?
I think I wanted to make one comment. This Anupam Kumar Singh also works on centralizer of elements, right?
Yeah.
Chandan, so maybe that is useful for you or what? I don't know.
Yeah, basically the first thing is, yeah, we are considering as a real manifold, the nilpotent orbit as a real manifold. And so the problem is for the general thing,
I think we have...
the centralizer is not well known, I think, for the general element. That's one thing. But for the complex situation, one can do case by case, like the centralizer of general element in the intersection of the centralizer of the semi-simple part and the centralizer of the nilpotent one.
But there may be some way to handle even in real life.
Yeah.
Try that. Okay. Yeah. And it's up to only homotopy, right? It's not, you're not going beyond how actually it looks, right?
So basically, yeah, up to homotopy means we are not interested on the Euclidean part.
Okay.
And up to homotopy, first we have reduced it. So basically the problem arises if the M is not semi-simple, like SUPQ situation.
Okay.
In that situation, in fact, to write down the homotopy things, it's quite difficult because we need to express everything with respect to a basis.
Okay, thank you.
Just yeah. So now let's. If there are no further questions, I thank the speaker once more.